God listen to your urgent prayers? Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Motivation Inspired. I'm Isaac. Today we're going to be diving into a powerful topic that speaks to God's responsive to our needs. And I think that's really important for us to understand. The question is that, can God answer emergency prayers? Well, throughout the scriptures, there are countless examples. So I'm just going to give you a few of them. And you're going to see how God intervenes in urgent situations. Okay. I think this is really great. And I want you to stick around and understand where I can give you some prime examples of where people actually walk through these situations. I know we go through all these things all the time, right? Well, I'm going to give you some examples, and out of desperate times, God is showing us that not only we are aware of He's aware of our struggles, but He's also ready to help. Yeah. So when we reach out to Him, if we ever felt the need and have an immediate response or answer from God, well, this video is for you. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of Jonah in the belly of the fish. Here's what happened. Jonah chapter 2 verse 2. In my distress I called to the Lord, and He answered me from deep in the realm of the dead. I call for help, and you listen to my cry. So, while Jonah was in the whale, we won't go into the whole topic of what this story is all about. Let me encourage you to read it. So Jonah, what happened is that he called out to God in a desperate place. He was in the belly of a fish. Okay, so God, what He did was He delivered him, reminding us there is no place too remote but for God's help. So in his distress, when he called out to God, this was an emergency. This was very urgent. He called out for the very reasons of what he is going through right now. And in times of situation, and like, again, I'm not going to go through the entire story about Jonah, but let me encourage you about that. What I can tell you is that he needed to be aligned with God. Okay, and I'm going to explain a little bit more as we go along in this video. Okay, what is else? Another example? Hannah's desperate prayer for a child. If you remember in the Bible, let's look at First Samuel chapter 1 verse 10. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. I want a baby. I want a child. What did this happen? What does this urgent situation happen to her? Well, Hannah's fervent prayer was just, God had answered, and because He listened, He chose to really speak out to her deep emotions. Okay, so in the time of her anguish, this is something that really I feel that she was calling out to God because of that very reason. Okay, another example in the Bible, let's look at Elijah. Now Elijah calling on God for fire. Okay, if we look at 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 37, answer me, Lord. He said, answer me. I need to hear your prayer so that these people will know that you are Lord, our God. Okay? So I'm crying and desperately asking you to answer to me. And don't we go through those things when we go through difficult times and say, I need to hear from you, God. I need to hear from you. I don't hear you. Well, guess what? Elijah's urgent prayer for God's power was met with fire from heaven. Yeah, illustrating God's ability to answer boldly when his people called on him. So in their time of need, Elijah, sometimes you have to pray these urgent prayers, and maybe in this case, he needed to hear from God. He needed to know, are you there with me? I need to hear from you. I rely on my resources, and hope and pray that this goes where I need, attention. Okay. Another prime example we're going to look at is the Israelites at the Red Sea. Okay. Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You'll need only to be still. What does that mean? Sometimes in our most difficult times, we need to stand still. And I know that nothing gets resolved, when you're facing a desperate situation and you want to escape that. So this would happen with the Israelites. The Israelites cried out, and they, of course, the Red Sea was parted, and it was a miraculous path of deliverance. Okay, this is something where you'll see God's miraculous things that happen in your life. But you got to trust. You got to you have to remain calm, because in these situations, yeah, they're urgent, and you need to hear from the Lord. And I really believe that, by doing that, you can see what God can do in your life. Yeah, wait. It's crazy. It sounds like that. We're very not. We're people, creature of habit to not wait. I'm just saying, this happens. How about another example that I have is Daniel in the lion's den. So if we look at Daniel chapter 6, verse 22, my God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lion. So what happened there? Well, Daniel's faith led to God's intervene and protected him from all these lions, showing that God can shield and protect us from the harm when we trust him. Okay, when we come through situations like Daniel, we're going through some danger in life, God will protect us. God will. Okay? In the time of need, I'm sure Daniel was scared and said, God, help. I need your help. See, here's the thing. When it comes to urgent prayers, you have to understand that this right here, God answers it. Okay? And I'm going to explain here. You have to stick around. You have to stick around, because I need to tell you the reason for all these examples. Okay? And why your urgent prayers are okay. They're necessary. Sometimes they're, well, how about this? Peter walking on the water. Everybody knows this very well when you look at Matthew chapter 14, verse 30. Lord, save me. I'm drowning. Help me, Lord, help me, help me. Well, when Peter's faith faltered, which it happens to all of us, he cried out to Jesus and immediately saved him, teaching us that God hears the response in moments of doubt and fear. So when we're going through some situations and we're doubting and we're having this fear, and we cry out, save me, Lord, I need help. And understand that he can help you in the time of need, from doubt and fear. Because again, I want to share this with you, but you got to stick around to hear what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. Hey, this is Isaac from Motivation Inspired. Sorry to interrupt this good content, but I gotta make a quick announcement. Many of you are still trying to look for a good content. 93% of you haven't subscribed. So go ahead and do that right now. And for those of you who want to support this channel, there's some merchandise that are down there below the description. Let's get back into this. Another example, Paul and Silas, who was in prison. Okay, what happened there? We're going to look at Acts chapter 16, verse 25. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and other prisoners were listening to him. What happened here? Well, they know they can turn to God and they can praise and worship, and through difficult times in your life, and understand that when you go through these desperate times, what happened is with Paul and Silas that they're, despite of their being in prison, Paul and Silas prayed as they were freed. When happened, the earthquake happened. That's why demonstrating his power to break through the restriction. So in the time of need, when you pray, you worship, and you allow God to intervene, and he's listening. God's listening to your prayers. God's listening to your cry out. God listens to the urgent needs you have. Now, the urgent needs are a prime example of what God is doing in these people's lives. These were real people. These were people that were going through problems like we are. Okay? David is another prime example. David pleaded for mercy. Well, what happened there? Psalms 51, verse 1. Have mercy on me, God, according to your unfailing love. You always show us your love, but have mercy on me. Have mercy, David felt as the forgiveness was met during the time with God showing mercy and God's readiness to answer sincere repentance. So in the time of what he went through in life, it was heartfelt. It was reaching out to what God can do for David in the time of his need. It was urgent. Have mercy on me, God. I need you. I'm lost without you. With your unfailing love, you have demonstrated that from time to time, and not time to time, but all the time. All the time. Okay? Now, another example is the woman with the issue of blood. In Mark chapter 5, verse 28, if I just touch his garment, the hem of his garment, I will be healed. This lady had an act of faith, of her urgency. She needed to stop bleeding, okay? And how that happened, the woman's desperate act of her faith brought immediate revealing that God's response is bold to believe in prayers. Yeah. This is in the time of her need. She was getting, losing blood. If you're losing blood, you're gonna die. So she had to reach out during her time, during her need. It was urgent. She needed help. Jehoshaphat, the prayer in his battle, that's another example. In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 12, we do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you. This battle, they were going through prayer in battle. This is something that facing overwhelm odds, so Jehoshaphat prayed and God delivered them. Okay? Showing his power in the battles that we cannot win on our own. We can't do this on our own. We need to know that God can take care of every situation of our lives. But, in the time of his need, he needed help. He was crying for help. He was overwhelmed. There was a lot of stuff going on, So, you're going to go through things in life. It happens. How about Hezekiah's illness And prayer. Well, Isaiah chapter 38, verse 3. Remember how I walked before you faithfully. Okay? Hezekiah, his prayer and his illness moved God to extend life for him, reminding us that God's in control over everything, and his compassion, in the health of his crisis in health, So he was going through some things, and his health was in a really bad situation. God can cry out. You can cry out to God in your urgent needs, in your urgent prayers. It's very necessary to reach out and know that these emergency prayers or urgent prayers are a prime example of life circumstances that happens in each and every individual. Okay, how about Jesus' prayer in the Gethsemane? Okay, so we look at Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Well, what happened is that Jesus's prayers in Gethsemane illustrates him surrendering in prayer and showing how God's strengthened us in difficult paths ahead. Okay, so it happened to Jesus too. He was going through. He needed. This was an urgent prayer from him, from God. He needed to reach out to him, but God shows His strength, and He shows us when we go through difficult times like this. It's this amazing thing that God is doing for us. Okay, Bartimaeus crying out for healing. So if we look at Mark chapter 10, verse 47, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Blind Bartimaeus, the persistent cry for help led Jesus to heal him and revealing the openness to what is called out in your faith. So if you have your faith, you're definitely you'll be calling out to God for these things to be revealed. Okay, it's important to know that. Okay, Gideon's request for confirmation. He needed to talk to God about some things. If you look in the book of Judges, chapter 6, verse 36 through 37, if we serve Israel by hand as promised, I will place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. Okay, so Gideon's prayer for a sign of answer, showing that God's willingness to guide us in the times of uncertainty. This would happen to him. So we have to understand that God's promises will be fulfilled, and it happened to Gideon when he was going through some things, and he needed confirmation. You request that. You need to know, in times of certainty, this is something that you need to understand, that these are prime examples of an urgent prayer and the needs. Now I got to say there are countless examples in the Bible, but I wanted to share a few of them because it's important to know that, to understand what people are going through in life. And someone had asked me, hey, does God answer emergency prayers? Well, I have one more example. Moses and the bitter water. We're going to find this in Exodus chapter 15, verse 25. Then Moses cried out to the Lord and showed him a piece of wood. And he threw it in the water, and the water became fit to drink. Okay? So here's what happened. When the Israelites faced bitter water, Moses prayed that God provide a solution, showing that God can make the bittersweet and provide for our needs or their needs at this time. You got to see where this is going, okay? Now, again, does God answer emergency prayers? Yes. I really believe that because of these people who are a Christ follower, sometimes we get, out of aligned, and God wants us to remind us that we need Him and Him alone. So we have to be realigned and reassured of our relationship with God, and know that when we're going through difficult times and times of emergency, and we're crying out, we're asking God to meet our needs in the time of crisis. Okay, this is so important that you have to understand what everyone is going through, and what these guys were going through in the Bible. This is prime example, and realize that through your urgent prayers, God can answer your prayers. All right, there you have it. I'm hoping that you understand how urgent your prayers are important to God in the time of your need. It's so important to know that when you can reach out to the Lord, knowing that you can get back right into a full relationship with God, because it's so important to do that. Let me encourage you to go and share this video and tell people about this channel, because why? They need to hear this. We'll see you next time.